Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Spring has sprung. And isn't it a glorious day? Welcome to Sofa Broker. Welcome to episode number 11. Make a wish. If you do make a wish.
Why you got to make a wish?
I don't know. Someone once told me you have to make a wish when there's an 11 in the time or something.
Who told you that?
Someone crazy.
Yeah. Someone from Australia, wasn't it?
Can't remember. Anyway, welcome everyone. Daniel, hello. How are you? You're looking very summery, springish, springly, sprightly.
Yeah, I'm very springily.
Yeah,
springily and it's really. I'm really praying to God that the sun is coming out and is going to stay out over the weekend.
It is there. This is going to be we're going to look very bright and white in this. If you're watching this on YouTube,
mate. But listen, people pay hundreds of pounds on their filters to look. You know,
like me,
like more bright, when they do stuff. So we've managed to do it. Is it coming up to cricket? Actually, they're talking about that because you've got to have a thing that you do, right? Everyone knows that I love riding around on bikes and doing that.
Do you?
If they don't, I can sit down and talk about it for hours.
Okay. What's your Instagram handle again? Because more people need to know that you like riding motorcycles.
What you do this crazy thing, right? You like sport, don't you?
Yes,
and it's I think it's Cheltenham this weekend. Does horse racing count?
That's not sport, is it?
What is it then?
That's drinking and gambling your family inheritance away, isn't it?
No, I wouldn't know that. I mean, I've never had that luxury.
Luxury, my favourite word.
Again, rolling.
What is luxury, Daniel?
It's when you can afford to race a horse, mate.
Yeah.
That if you can actually afford to race one of these horses, then you're pretty luxurious. But I was going to say, isn't the older, the older.
What you actually mean to ask me is it the croquet season?
No.
And I would have to answer, no, it's not. Nobody plays croquet before Easter.
What's the other thing that you and Flint off are babbling on about all the time? See, I know them.
Cricket.
So ain't that just about to kick off or something?
It is indeed. And I'm very excited. I think I might actually play this year.
Oh, you're gonna have a little bash.
Yeah. It's been because village cricket, very sadly, the demise of village.
So hold on. Say it again. Start again. What? As demise?
Village cricket. Yeah.
Can you play cricket perchance on the highway in Wapping?
You can, but you die.
Right. Can you play it perchance in Islington? Somewhere around there?
Well, I think if you try to play cricket on Islington Green, you might get in trouble from the winos. So
is it just for the people that frequent villages? Because the only time I see a village is when I'm flying through it. And I fly through it on a bike, and there's always a pub called the Blue Boar. You know what I mean? The Blue Bear or the Blacksmith's Arms. Do you know what I mean? Or something crazy. I'm talking about pubs. It's interesting, right? Because you can talk about it for hours, but just to give you a rough idea. I didn't know this, and I should know it because I'm not the most intelligent person in the world.
No, you're not.
And everyone, but they don't know, but they should all know. I've very dyslexic, right? And this is why a lot of the stumbling around and everything that I do comes out. But I didn't actually know this.
It's your power, Daniel.
I have another power, but we'll talk about that in another episode. I didn't actually know this, but I don't know if you do know this or not, so I'm going to...
Why are you smirking? What's going on?
Because I didn't know that pubs came along before people had organised words. Right? Does that make sense? Right? So there's no words.
I'm getting a nod from producer Stan over there.
Hang on. So there's pubs. Let me tell you something. Because they wouldn't have words or notice, they'd have to recognise that sign. Right, and if the sign said, the Blacksmith's Arms, they would turn around and they'd say, let's meet at the Blacksmith's Arms, not, here's the place. Does that, I've not...
I know exactly what you mean, yeah.
I think I've completely messed up.
It's before most people could read.
Before they could read,
so
that's it.
A picture on the pub.
Yeah, so that was... Right.
Well, pubs probably were just ways of an estate... the landed gentry. It was a place. It was a place for the workers, like the blacksmiths and all that lot.
Yeah,
and all the red lions that were clearly
running around.
For all the zookeepers it was a place for them to go and have a drink and some pork scratchings and think that life was actually okay before they went out and
So,
work their
so
arses
you're
off.
saying the place where they used to go to work, which was the land that was owned by the landed gentry or people like you would also have a pub there. So the money that they've earned, they could spend in the pub that you lot own as well. So they hand it over in one hand. They go to the pub, hand back more because they're probably a little bit slaughtered and stressed out about what's going on in life, and give it back to you, and it comes back to landed gentry strike you as well.
I see what you're saying, and my response is
Careful.
residual income for life, Daniel.
There we go. Residual income for life. So is that why, as being a broker, we talk about we need to engage with lawyers. We need to engage with financial advisors, surveyors. You've just spoken to some people that are really into interior design, right?
Yeah.
You met with a really interesting guy.
Yeah.
And someone that he's working with, I can't remember her name. She's in this world, and we've got, in my family, Thomas's wife Jess, is into interior design and does a lot of interior design. So there's different places we can get residual income from, even being a broker.
You're talking about referrals.
How do we do that, Sol?
Well, that's interesting because obviously, if you're an estate agency and you're in on a high street and you're in a salaried situation, I don't think they're allowed to, are they? Well, maybe the business can, but with the model that we've got and having loads of brokers around Europe flying around doing their own business, obviously every time they do a sale or they need to stage a property or a survey needs to be done or mortgages need to be arranged, quite often that buyer or seller will go to the broker and say, can you help me with one of those professionals? In which case they can go, yes, I can. And then we hope they will go to their hit list of people and go, do you know what? The last time I sold a property like this, what really helped it was this company I know who are very good, came in, they did a bit of remedial work to it, staged it beautifully. It was a good quality property with good quality furniture in there. And people just came in and loved it and could see how they could live in it, created a homely environment, and we sold it really quickly.
Yeah.
And in that situation, if you can get that across to potential seller in that situation and explain the benefit, both financially and in terms of their time, you're onto a winner in terms of getting the sale done. But of course, you should be then looking to get referral from the company that you introduce who does that staging and remedial work or refurbishment. And I think industry standards typically about 10%. So let's just say a broker puts in a company and it's cost 100,000 quid to make a property that's worth 2 million or more saleable. Apart from a great fee on selling it, you're looking at the thick end of 10 grand for making that introduction. So it's a bit of a win-win. I think every broker who is independent, whether they're with us or whether they have their own little boutique agency, should be thinking along those lines. That is great residual income.
Yeah. And I think it's worth bearing in. Certainly, there's certain regulations you need to be involved with.
Yeah.
It's like if you're going to refer a lawyer that's going to take up, you need to let the person that you're referring it to, if a transaction happens, you will make a set amount of money from it.
Yep.
You need to be very transparent to everything. The same with if you're dealing with any financial stuff as well. Anyone getting involved with that, it's always tell them. I think that's really good point, because if you do tell them, then you're locking yourself in as that advisor in the whole process, whether it's the buyer, the seller, or the professional in the middle. They're looking at you going, wow, this guy knows how to put stuff together. And then you probably get more referral. Exactly. I mean, it's owning the pub situation, isn't it? Right. It's how that money goes around, how that residual income does last forever. Because you can bounce it around, and it's very important when you're starting out in this business and probably lots of other businesses you want to do, that you're connecting with people around what you're personally involved with doing. So, we do everything. We have surveyors going on, we have lawyers going on. We're talking to people about FS, we're dealing to interior designers. You might be speaking to people that are brilliant tilers. Anyone, and there's so many of them out there, and if anyone's struggling to kind of work out or in their head to think what this person could be, I mean, just look at B&Q. Anyone that goes into B&Q that's a tradesperson
regularly,
there's hundreds of people going in there, okay, doing different things. They are all now people that you could connect with, because if they're Chelsea, easy referee, if they're I will say the frigging word again. If they're involved in property to any degree, you should be letting them know you exist. So residual income works around bouncing it around to people, and it also helps you. You know, it helps the buyer and seller. If you can make the process that more simpler, because we always talk about trust and respect. You set that up. You can be the buffer between the other, between the interior designer. You know, if the interior designer is going batshit crazy that they want to do it this way, and you've got a different idea, you can help.
Yeah.
You know, you can be around it. You know, if the guy needs their mortgage to be sorted out, at X, and they're struggling, you could help with the fee. In the sales fee, I mean. So
I think that's key. I think because most sales are successful because the person in the middle, i.e. the introducer, i.e. the agent, i.e. the broker, is engaged from start to finish. And if that's one person, that's great. That's what we've always advocated, isn't it? Not having 5 or 6 different people in different departments, corporate style. It can get lost in translation and lost in emails and stuff. But, in terms of having someone who's pivotal, the advisor in the middle, the broker advisor, all of that kind of stuff, the referrer, we've seen it firsthand. I mean, look at that event we had the other day at the Loft in Vauxhall.
Oh, that's amazing.
Who did I invite? Who did we invite? We didn't just invite a load of 8. We certainly didn't invite buyers because they would have just wasted everyone's time, and they wouldn't be buyers. We invited brokers, of course, but we invited brokers from within our company setup and from outside, but the right kind, not just any old person. And who else was there? Architects, certainly 2 or 3 interior designers were there. We had the odd influencer who turned up, who had seen our thing on LinkedIn, wanted to be a part of that process. One of them came back to me today. I'd never met them before and said, "Can I do this with it?" And I said, "Okay, well, that's fine. I need to check with the client." But, that is collaboration, that's networking, that's referral, that's making sure that you're in the middle of something. And why did we ask architects? Why do we ask interior designers? One, because we want them to see what we get into, which in that case was very impressive. So they're going to think of us when a client wants to sell. But also we're showing them, hold on a sec, if you stay in contact with us, just look at the kind of people we can introduce you to. Like that particular situation, we introduced the seller, who was the original buyer, to an architect, and it was £1.5 million project that we got him into.
Yeah, I mean
that's a game changer.
That architect is now responsible for finishing the design on the most expensive penthouse in London.
Not to mention Dubai. And who does he come and talk to about what happened?
Comes
exactly.
to you and me.
Yeah.
Because things go on. So what we're saying is, actually, when you come into this and you want to do stuff, and you're worrying what's going to happen, what's going on, how do I do it? One of the things you need to do is, think about the pub, right? And think about the people that are around it. Yeah, and who there can you talk to that could need your help because they want to do a transaction financially, or they want to fit out carpets, or whatever they're doing. There's someone you should know and have connected to, and that's kind of what we did. But we blew it up at the penthouse event in before last Friday.
That's what we always do. In fact, I took it so far that I invited a potential client of ours to come and have a look at it. I don't know if you met them.
You've got to do, I
because
did.
they, when I went to do the listing appointment with them, I said, they'd had a property that was really extraordinary. She's an interior designer. She'd done this amazing thing. Tough sell because it's a real fish out of water.
He was adamant he had met me before.
Probably seen the TV show. The TV show.
Yeah. Okay,
nice. Anyway, so they came down and they saw. So I was then suddenly this event became part of a pitch to another potential client.
Because you're always pitching.
I guess we are always pitching.
But you're always pitching naturally. And that's when you pitch naturally, it's the best way. So in the round, it's now becoming bigger. So now you've got the people that you've met in the pub that can help you, the lawyers, the solicitors, interior designers, carpet fitters, tilers, whatever. And now you're moving it on to prospective clients. So you can turn around to other clients and go, well, I'm having this event. Why don't you come around? Which they did. They come around and they see it, and hopefully you'll list it.
We are.
Well, you're now going to be listing it. So it's a moving piece that continues to carry on. Right? But you've got to remind everybody. Yeah. And this is why when we started this, I spoke to you and I said, how's cricket season going? Right? And you said you haven't been for a while, because the cricket season is you engaging metaphorically, like that. Yeah, you said it the right way round. Thanks. In them people, So when you're doing that game of cricket, and if you look at people that play cricket, I mean, I know they're all dressed in white and they're incredibly boring, and I wish I had another sort of sport to talk about that would make people more engaged than they are. And if you're falling asleep and you're bored and you're staring out the window at the moment, I don't particularly blame you. But
wow.
But what I'm saying is you need other players to make the game happen.
Yeah.
Right. And so you can go out in the beginning, before you've sold anything, before you've seen anything, in the beginning, one of the first things you want to do is get you other players you connect with.
Well, and
so give them the player. Who's the type of people they should be connecting with?
What do you mean in terms of
referrals? So who could they talk to?
It's brokers.
So yeah.
So brokers need to have in their phone.
Yeah.
They've got to have 2 or 3 lawyers.
So 2 or 3 lawyers,
conveyancing solicitors,
right?
People that can do, a 24-hour exchange at the higher level. People that are good at mixed use, and then your average, your 1,200 plus VAT type.
Go find them.
Have
a drink with them.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
And tell them, like we always say, tell them who you are, and get them on your newsletter. Get them engaged with your Instagram. Yeah. Name check them. All of that kind of stuff. Make them part of your thing.
Follow their Insta. That's easy to do. Get in.
Yeah.
And who else?
You've got to have I think it's important to have a surveyor.
Yeah,
someone that that you can get into a property within, should we say, 5 days for someone. Yeah. Especially at these higher level things. I think that's really important. Like the deal that we're going through, one of our brokers is going through at the moment at 16 million. With fingers crossed. Good luck to the guy. At that level, it's putting them in touch with a surveyor who's going to go in 24 hours after they've agreed the price. That's serious, but that's not always going to happen. But it's just, how good is that? If you're a buyer and you've been through all the negotiation and you think you're there, how good is it to have a broker that goes, that guy's going to get you and he's going to make sure the building's all tickety-boo, and that will happen within 48 hours. So
becomes friends with a surveyor. And when I started this out and I was selling properties for, not very much money, I remember I went out and found a couple of surveyors, become friends with them, and I would ask them, I'm going to see, number 6 Acacia Avenue. I know you've never been nowhere near it before because it's not in your town, but it's a 4-bed semi, blah, 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 1930s build. Is there any standout issues with it? Is there the damp's going to be a problem, or that's going to be a problem, or I've just left there, the surveyor said to me, there's probably the stairway is a bit rotten, or the loft space that you've done isn't a loft space, it can't be sold. My surveyor friend, is that true? And they can talk on. So you build up that relationship as well. So there's 2, your lawyers and your surveyors, solid.
Obviously mortgage brokers. And I think a lot of people think that just because they're selling something for lots of money and they're dealing with wealthy people, buyers and sellers, they think that, the money side of it's taken care of. Yeah. But how many people do we know that ring us up and go, oh, I want to get the flat valued. We all think hopefully it's worth 8 or 9 million, but the reality is, can we get someone to come value it at 7.5? Who do you know that might understand this kind of property, for remortgaging or whatever it might be? So, the wealthy people are wealthy for a reason, and probably more money is borrowed by incredibly rich people out of Swiss bank accounts at very low interest rates than normal, Joe Public buying 300 or 400 grand houses around the UK. So remember that they like to make sure their money works for them. So always have a high-end mortgage broker and maybe a more normal mortgage broker, and they are very easy to wine and dine. We know that. So find out with them. So you kind of then you've got 3 there. We're talking about some more in a minute. And by the way, we know the referrals on the financial sector are just they can be enormous.
Yeah, it's a lot. Yeah. So let's talk. So we've got them 3. There's some more that we're discussing in a minute. So them 3 would be, are they kind of like, that's the 2 cricketers that were engaged in the game?
So when you mentioned about the cricket analogy, and it's the same with football or any team sport, they're not all made up, like a football team's not made up of just midfielders, is it? You've got You know, you got Diego Maradona. You've got, you know.
When you're talking to me about football, mate, I ain't got a Scooby.
Okay, let's go back to cricket because you know more about it. So in a cricket
I'm making
team,
it up as I go along, and I thought I was doing.
But in a
quite
cricket
well,
team, it's a really good example,
clearly I'm
right?
not.
Oh, shut up.
No, that's okay. Go ahead.
You
Fine.
need to have some batsmen. You need to have a guy that hits the ball miles. You need to have a solid blocker that will make sure, you know, things are steady for a while. You need to have a wicket keeper.
Hang on, a solid blocker, isn't that like what Harry Potter had when because he plays that game?
There you go. It's all in the same thing, right? I basically went to Hogwarts.
Did you? You're thrown now, aren't you?
I'm not thrown, but it needs you need to have a mixture of people on the team who do different things in different ways.
So simplistically, you need your team players, and in that team players, there's people that are going to be batting, and there's going to be people that are going to be off in the rabbits fielding. And you bring them in all at different points. So some of your outfield players, right? Your outfield players, that would probably be interior designers, right? Someone that you're not every house you're gonna need that. You know, no one's gonna come to that. It's gonna be, you know, you people.
That's the guy who sits on the left wing on a freezing cold Sunday, occasionally gets the ball on, you know, Sunday Park football.
But he still gets part of the cake, doesn't he?
He gets part of the cake, and he probably takes a decent corner. He might do the sort of the free kicks, stuff like that. But he's not getting his knees dirty.
Does he field like the only time I played cricket when I used to field when you made
like that
with my foot? Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you do that?
Do what?
Have I started a new way of?
Do you know what? I actually
cricket?
had a famous piano player play cricket with me once.
Did he say you should use your feet like Dan?
No, but he kept stopping the ball. You know, cricket ball's very hard for all of our American friends, but like baseball. Anyway, hard cricket ball flying around the pitch and around the ground, and he kept stopping it with his boot. And I was like, "What the hell are you doing?" He said, This is my livelihood. If that ball breaks my finger, I'm not playing at the Albert Hall tomorrow. Thanks very much. You know?
See, Solly and his friends, they play at the Albert Hall regularly. So, we said interior designers, so you'd speak to some of them.
Yep.
Yeah. And there's also interior designers that are experts in certain trends.
Well, I think staging is the thing here. And this is
okay.
You know, we are tip of the iceberg.
Tell us, like, if no one understands what staging is, they don't. So you're telling me about staging, and I sell 3 beds in the Roman Road. Why is staging important? Because it would be to a 1-bed flat in Bath.
I think staging comes in stages. So let's talk about it at the most the best
way.
example I've ever seen of how staging works and how we are so far behind in this country. Okay, and it does involve our old buddy Sean Elliott.
Yeah,
and Sean introduced me to an English client who was actually Welsh, but English, but London based, and he had an amazing property on the South Bank, an amazing house in the countryside.
I remember.
And as it turns out, he also had one of the best loft apartments in downtown Manhattan.
Yeah.
And so Sean put me in touch, and it's great because this is about education and it's about speed and collaboration and how having a network in your phone ready to go is quite interesting. So I meet the guy on behalf of Sean, go meet him at the house, and then we talk about the South Bank thing. Obviously, that gets me excited. I'm thinking, Christ, okay, we can fulfill quite a few of this guy's sort of portfolio needs here. And then he's like, so, you know, what do we do next? I'm like, well, let's get Sean Elliott on a WhatsApp video call. We do that. He's the buyer actually is in Barcelona. This was during the pandemic. Sorry, the seller, the client. So Barcelona, me in London, Sean in New York.
And Sean, just so people know, Sean is one of our brokers.
He's one of our brokers,
okay.
one of our, you know.
So he's a
good buddy of ours,
yeah.
And he's very successful in the States, all over the States, and is a global broker, let's face it. But pandemic couldn't come to us, Barcelona couldn't come to us. So I'm sort of there in the middle of it all. Get on a WhatsApp video call within 5 minutes of being in the house, and suddenly we're on the phone. I'll come to the staging bit now. And Sean goes, tell me about the place in Manhattan. He goes, yeah, I bought the show home of, I won't say the address, a landmark building in Soho or Chelsea, one of those cool areas. Sean goes, I know the building, I know the flat. What flat number? You know, the flat number, I know it, and that's the one with the furniture that was done by whatever. The client goes, I haven't been there for 14 years. And there's a collective sort of drop of the jaw because like, wow, lucky, yeah, I mean, mad, right? Yeah. So Sean goes, okay, this is what I'm going to do. Send me $10,000 and I will get, I'll get it restaged. I'll get all the landmark pieces fixed up again, dusted, cleaned, whatever. It's going to look like the flat that you bought 14 years ago. Within 24 hours, that money's in Sean Elliott's account. He does it. He sells the flat for a record price in that building within a month or two.
Wow.
That all happened on a 5 or 10 minute WhatsApp video call from a house just outside London. But that's the power of staging. Collaboration, great, and having immediately that chat and talking about it. But because he's an American broker with high fees and he's an advisor, he didn't even think about the worrying nature that maybe UK agents have of going, it doesn't look great. I'm really, that whole thing.
Yeah.
Well, in that case, I'll use another agent I'm going to pay 0.75% for. That's the mentality that we have here. And I'm seeing staging coming up in conversations a lot more. I've been ragging on about it for as long as anyone will listen to me.
You have.
I think it's incredibly important. And I think if you have the ability to talk, episode 10, if you have the ability to talk to a client and move them away from that client relationship whereby you are an advisor and you do have access to all of these professionals that can make the whole process better for them and their sellers and their buyers, then be bold, say it. And whether that works on a £300,000 or £400,000 semi-detached house in Ipswich, I don't know.
So do you think that if we're going to go out and we've put staging companies in there, okay, and we know there's other people, you can have decorators, carpenters, whatever people, landscape gardeners, if there's a garden, for God's sake, pay attention to that when you come to sell it. So that's a massive thing as well. So you've got all this stuff, but we're working within a world now where I'm seeing stuff that people are talking about staging, but it's something called virtual staging. The house is staged on Rightmove, on whatever. There is other websites out there that are available. And, it's got different... The same room can look different, or people can go and... you can go buy a sofa now, and before you buy it, you can have a look what it looks like in your living room. People can do that. So is that type of... I suppose you'd say CGIs, right? What do we talk to people? Would you go out and in your box, in the tick lists of everyone we just spoke about, do you add people that do CGIs? I
think you do, because you don't want to stutter if someone mentions it and not know anything about it. I'm probably unlike a lot. I don't do much new development as a personal broker, so it's not something that's
but I mean, literally.
But I think yes, of course you do. The one thing I would say is if you're just starting out on a project and you will not, unless you're on the best address in the area and everyone just knows you, buying it for the address, or you're flogging cookie cutters to investors from China. Do not rely on CGIs to get that property sold. We saw that with the development we actually did in Peckham. Do you remember all those years ago? We'd have had a fantastic building, and we put the CGIs on Rightmove, and we got nothing. As soon as we had a physical show home, they sold in 2 weeks.
So I was more pointing to that, okay? More pointing towards, in someone's house is CGIs becoming a thing now. So can you say to someone, we can stage this for you, it's £1,000, right? Or we can do it, so people online would look like it's been staged, but it's 250 quid because it's using CGIs. Is that becoming a thing? Will you tell us that we're going to start to see that over the course of this year and moving into the houses that are owned by the mums and dads?
The answer here is cost. If it becomes throwaway and you can just do it, then yes, of course. For me, it will only ever be a fun thing that technology allows you to do.
So it should be that someone then would talk about, maybe when they're talking to a client, and say, look, we can stage it, it's X, or we can virtually stage it, it's Y, and let the public decide what they want to do. But it is going to creep in. Are we seeing it?
It's got to, because there's so little of it. It only really happens at, we see with some of the very high-end developers we deal with. That's really the only time you see it. It's getting into private homes and private sellers and having the confidence.
And you're talking about actual staging.
Actual staging. Sorry,
yeah.
I'm skirting over the CGI and the virtual thing because
the same thing. We both look at it. And
I think it's bollocks.
Well, yeah, we struggle to understand it because we're old, and you're a little bit older than me, and struggle a bit more. But we both do this. Okay, I think it's going to become a thing.
Okay.
I think I'll put my name on. I'll stand on it now. Put my name on it. I think this is going to become big over the next 24 months, and I think we're going to be really surprised. Because the ability to let options or people that want to buy a regular house, it could have an extension. Well, you can press this button, it puts an extension on it. You can do this.
Architecturally, yes, I'm with you.
Yeah.
But in terms of the sort of
But it always starts out, so what does it look at now? So we want to change the bathroom, we want to put these tiles on the wall, we want to put a different bath in there. I think that's going to become, because it's like what you said, it's becoming now, stuff like that's becoming really throwaway and cheap, so people are going to start using it. Especially in our industry where the average fee is going to be 1%. And the hardest thing for anyone to do is to tell someone, seriously, you need to paint. I love this paint. I've had this paint 16 years.
That's institutional sellers are obviously a nightmare, aren't they? They're never going to understand it. Unless, of course, there is an absolutely clear-cut financial advantage. But you can remember the mindset of your typical UK seller is pay your agent as little as possible. So let's say you're selling a £500,000 house and the fees, let's be generous, 1%. It's $5,000. You can't turn around to the guy and say, well, it's going to cost you $2,500 to make this saleable, or even 10. Can you imagine that conversation?
You can't.
And that's why estate agents don't bother doing it.
And that's why estate agents are so lazy and are willing to just, there's an offer on saying, get him to accept that. Yeah. There's no, this offer really isn't good enough, or you should actually, our best advice for you is to rest it for 2 months, and then come back, because things go up and down, right? The market changes. You need to hit on mindset. I think we'll talk about it, in the next couple of episodes. But mindset of the vendor is the enemy. To real estate and estate agency.
But then the mindset of brokers has to change. Their mindsets are changing, because we're seeing brokers emerging from estate agency. So that we know that the mindset is happening. But in terms of, nothing is better than having comparable evidence. And I'm lucky enough, and we're lucky enough because of the network we're a part of, that we can walk into, like, a client that you don't know too much about. We're going to be taking on his house. It's been neglected for some years. It needs about 150,000 spending on it. The conversation I had with him was he understands that I'm an advisor and I'm helping him, and it's not just low fee, whatever, right move situation. So that's great. Makes it easier for me. Maybe I've earned that. Don't know. But also, I can turn around and say, I can give him the Sean Elliott thing. I'm a part of that. That is evidence that it works. And I think like doing your first sale, like playing your first game of cricket, like first horse ride, whatever it is, when an agent has done his first one, whether it's just someone putting in a new kitchen or repainting something and it gets sold, they should write the bloody thing down and show it to the next person they see that's got a house that needs it.
Exactly. They really should, and they would make a lot of money off of that, doing it. There's a way to not ram something down someone's throat. If a guy or a girl has started here and they want to get involved in agency, what we really need them to do is they need to tiptoe around what we want to say and do and what the vendors are going to hear. It's no good just, saying, well, the comparable evidence says Y, so it's got to be at Y. It blurs the edges, so you need to be able to blur the edges. And I think that's a good way, actually, to stop it. So you're off to the pub. You're off to your personal pub, isn't it? Was it called the Blue Boar? It was the Bear, wasn't it?
The Bear reopened.
The Bear. Yeah. Did you own it at any point?
No.
I'm sure you could have afforded to get shares in it.
I was definitely an investor.
Yeah, and the geezer from the blacksmiths was in there a lot, wasn't he?
Actually, don't shoot me, but I am going to the Hoxton this afternoon.
Shoot him. So, thanks for coming on.
Refer. Do it.
Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Thanks for doing whatever it is you like doing over there. Remember, Spotify, Apple, Amazon, YouTube, and see you next time.